it's Lindsay and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be getting a little spicy. I asked you guys to leave me some of your most spicy Authortube publishing writing hot takes on my new community tab, which I just got and I feel so fancy about. But I wanted to know your most steamy, controversial hot takes. I am just a nosy Nancy of a person and I just love tea and I love collecting all of the information. So that's what this video is. It's kind of like a self-indulgent type video. But I know y'all will like it too because y'all are nosy as me, let's be real. So I got most of these hot takes off my community tab, but I did get a couple off of a live stream that I was in. So I'm going to start there. YA is basically just adult now because it appeals almost entirely to adults instead of actual kids, young adults, LMAO. This is interesting because I think that the publishers do look at statistics obviously and they understand that like 60-some% of their books are being bought by adults, so they want to cater them more towards that. I actually saw where one of the top 5 publishers changed their definition of like who they sell to in their YA. Instead of saying like for people the ages of 13 to 18, they said like 13 to 25, which I thought was really interesting. And I definitely think that that has something to do with that whole loop effect. If you're interested in the YA adult discussion, I did just do an entire video on the fact that teens don't really exist in YA fantasy and how that feeds into that whole marketing to adult in YA loop. It's complex. I'll link it up and down below if you're interested. But yeah, I think we definitely do have some proof that YA is not just for teens anymore. It is definitely for adults as well. However, I do think there will always be some adults that are not gonna like YA books, and there will always be teens that will like YA books. So that's that. YA is overrated and too many people, especially women, are getting pigeonholed or pigeonholing themselves there because it's safer. Spice. There's so much to unpack here. First of all, just the YA is overrated is like such a great hot take. I'm so glad that you went there. I don't know how I feel about that. I do think it would be interesting to like take a step back though from like the usual emotional discourse that surrounds like the whole idea of something being overrated and like think of it in like a monetary statistic way. I'm thinking of how publishers will give, you know, like the 1% of YA books that actually get like big advances, like 6 or 7 figure deals to this one book, give it maybe some marketing, sometimes a lot of marketing, and then the book kind of like flops or it just goes quiet and no one on BookTube reads it and you just never really hear from it again. It just dissolves into the ether. Is that kind of an example of like a monetary way publishers themselves are overrating their own books? Like, is that a way that I could interpret this? I know this is not what this person probably means, but I do think that's a really interesting lens to think about YA being overrated through. Who decides what's overrated? And is it monetary or is it like effective, like how you feel about something? Of course I would take this and make it something analytical. And as for the second part, actually, Haley, if you're watching this, I would love for you to clarify down below what you actually mean by that second part. I think I'm just a bit confused by it, especially the YA being safer part. I'm not sure what you mean by that and I would love to know, because what I'm thinking is YA is actually more difficult to break out in than adult and middle grade. So being safer, I'm thinking like, well, you're never gonna get in. So like, how is it safer? I don't know. So please explain down below because I'm super interested in your comment. That was a really good one, thanks. Gay romance written by women is so questionable most of the time. So this is another one that I have to get analytical with that I think this is a really good one too, thanks TV Kane. This is interesting because like if you take a step back and you look at it, thinking of all of the big male romances that get big, that get the attention, that get the BookTube reviews and the higher advances, they are all written by women. Which is super interesting. Like the ones I'm thinking of, the one that just came out this year that took BookTube by storm. And of course there's the big flashy ones that get the movie deals and such. Interesting. There is definitely a discussion that could be had there. YA is increasingly tending towards the older edge of its suggested age group, with 17+ protagonists and darker issues content, thus leaving behind and leaving out the younger teens who read YA. It's almost like they're trying to cater more to the adults rather than the young teens the genre was essentially built for. I don't even feel like this is a hot take. Like, this is straight up facts. Like, we have statistical evidence to back this up. And like, I totally agree. Again, I was so interested in this take myself that I made an entire video on it. You can go check it out if you want. Saying just self-publish and everyone can self-publish is stupid. Self-publishing is not the easier route. A lot more goes into books than just writing it. You need to basically be the entire company when you're self-publishing. I'd say most people would be better off publishing traditionally. And here comes the tea. If you're rejected by an agent, there is a good reason for that, and it's not a sign you should be self-publishing that book. Ooh, girl. So breaking down the two parts of this, yes, self-publishing, so hard. Like, mad respect for the people who decide to self-publish their book. Like, you have to be wearing so many hats. Like, and the technical stuff that you have to do, the formatting, the behind the scenes, the analytical, like, numbers, that's making my pits a little spicy just thinking about it. Like, I could not. And as for the rejected by the agent part, I love this. This is so spicy. I agree for the most part with this, with the caveat that, like, you can be rejected by a traditionally publishing agent for multiple reasons, especially like marketing issues. Like if the book you're trying to write a dystopian, you're gonna have a hard time finding an agent for that, especially in this YA climate. Dystopian is just oversaturated and no one really wants to read it anymore. But in the self-publishing realm, those books are doing fine. Like, you can still self-publish and you will still get readers because the readers know that's where those books are. So you can be rejected, not because like your book sucks, which I think is what this hot take was saying, that like if you suck and you get rejected, you get mad about it and you're just like, man, well, I'll show them and I'll just self-publish. And like, I'm sure there are some people that do that, but at the same time, like if you did try to get an agent and wanted to traditional publish and then did some self-reflecting and changed your mind, like that's totally fine too. Just like, don't be that one person that's just like, I'll show them, I'm too good. Stemming off of that, that's funny. There's way too much judgment from both team self-publish and team traditionally publish. Everyone should just relax and let people decide what works for them. Both routes are fantastic. There is no right or wrong way. It is just your own way. Completely agree, Becca. You do not need to spend any of your own money to be traditionally published if you don't want to. Not for editors, not for fancy writing programs, not for conferences, nada. I promise you, any information anyone is selling, you can get all of that information for free online in writing books. And heck, I even believe like the best way to learn how to write is just dig into your bookshelves and like start reading voraciously, start reading. Pitching agents in person isn't helpful. Audrey, this is really interesting, and I actually don't even have an opinion on this because I've never tried to pitch in person and I actually don't even know anyone who has. So like, if you have an experience, like share it down below. That's really, really interesting. Hi Lindsay, I'm your biggest fan. By the way, this is my mom, and I don't think she understood that I was asking for people to leave like spicy, controversial opinions down below. So apparently it's controversial that I have fans. Thanks, Mom. Love you. Sometimes a story you are most passionate about, most invested in pursuing, will not be commercial or have mass appeal. But that's okay. Weave the story that you're dying to tell and commit to your vision. Someone will get it. Oh girl, I have so many feelings about this. Like, I completely agree. First of all, I'll tell you this. As someone who is trying to traditionally publish a fat, disabled mermaid protagonist book, none of those things are like super marketable. So I have feelings and I will go into those when I finish my query journey. Rather, if I get an agent or if I don't, I'll still discuss like all my feelings on this, but like, girl, I feel this on a deep emotional level. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is spicy enough, but I'm seeing more and more books being published that contain way too much filler content. Like, publishers are trying to pad out books for some reason. Why? Does a book really need to be 400 plus pages to tell a normal story? I come away from these books frustrated I wasted so much time reading basically repeated sentences and meaningless drivel when the story could have been so good. And does everything in YA need to be a trilogy or a 5-book series? This is funny. I am one of those people that I do love the trilogies, the 5-book series. I love, like, you know, The Way of Kings, like 10 books. Each book is 1,200 pages. That is such a personal preference thing. So I get why people would not like that. The filler thing is interesting too. I agree, I really don't like books that meander, but to some people that's like how they get attached, like all of that character inner monologue that goes on for pages, like they love that because that builds character. So I guess that is a personal preference thing too. However, I would say there is a conversation that could be had, maybe not by me, but by someone where we discussed the fact that there are some big authors out there with big names that their publishers know they're gonna bring in 7 or 8 figures no matter what, right? So like, why waste our time with tons of edits when it's just gonna make us money anyway? That could be a truth that could be discussed. Don't know if I'm the person to have that conversation, just throwing it out there, I guess. Okay, moving on. It doesn't matter how you write your story as long as you write it. You can fix everything in editing anyway, and I completely agree with that. Plotting, pantsing, anything in between, it's all the same. It's just people adding structure at different points in the process. So if you have a hot take we did not discuss, make sure to leave it down below because I'm nosy and I like want to know everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this little maybe controversial video and thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!